Hello everyone. It's been a little while since I've done an atheism video, and I'm gonna be away for a week, so I figure probably now's a good time to do something about atheism. So, like the title says, this video is about basically my position about atheism. So far, up to now, I've basically made videos that are very reactionary to claims by the theists, or just expanding on a narrow point without describing exactly where I'm coming from. Although I've gotten a little bit of that in my other videos. I think I'm going to go ahead and explain. First of all, the basic premise that my atheism relies upon is the idea that belief is a bankrupt intellectual state of mind, and that's a blanket statement. It doesn't apply only to belief about God or anything. It's just if you believe something, there's something wrong with your brain. So the definition of belief means to accept something as truth, irrespective of reason. So it's an intrinsically unaccountable state of mind. That means you accept it as true, but you just don't care why something's true. Okay, so the thing about it is that the theists cling to the word precisely because it has certain other attributes, namely that it is a word with a built-in equivocation fallacy, essentially. So if you believe something, there are all sorts of justifications that a person may or may not have for believing it, but they're not stating it. And so I think I can give an example here to make it clear. So let's say somebody says something like, "I believe it's going to rain tomorrow." On its own, that statement is utterly vacuous because you don't know what the person means. Like if the person says, so here are some examples of what that sentence might mean. I believe it's going to rain tomorrow. It might mean, for example, 1, I saw a weather report and the weatherman said it's likely to rain tomorrow. Okay. Number 2, I live in a place where it usually rains, so chances are it's going to rain tomorrow. Okay. 3, it's in the middle of a rainy season and it rained today, so it'll probably rain tomorrow. Whatever. 4, I'm a farmer, I did a rain dance, and I prayed for rain, and I need rain for my crops to grow, so I'm just going to assume it'll happen. Okay. 5, I am a weatherman, I have seen the data and projections, and I've just calculated that it's likely to rain tomorrow. Okay. 6, there has been a heavy cloud. The barometer indicated it should rain very soon, but it has not yet. 7, I'm just making a guess, and so on and so forth. All of those are classified under the idea that I believe it's going to rain tomorrow. The point is, the person who says I believe it's going to rain tomorrow may mean any one of those things, and you don't know. So the person is equivocating amongst all those possibilities simultaneously without having to state any of them. But on the other hand, if you actually state one of these alternate ways of expressing it, you'll see that, of course, it's more detailed. And as somebody who's listening to it, they know more when you say that. You're actually communicating with the person. So the statements also intrinsically admit more scrutiny. So, for example, if you say, I saw a weather report and it said it was going to rain, well, you could sort of say, yeah, okay, but which station, or, did you see multiple weather reports, or you can compare weather reports, and did they say exactly how likely it would rain, and so on. And, what is the probability? You can so you can see how that statement is useful because you can continue the discussion. There's scrutiny. Whereas, if a person is just saying, I believe it's going to rain tomorrow, they're intrinsically telling you, don't scrutinize me about it. This is my belief, and I've accepted it, and I don't care what the reason is. So that's my problem with the word belief, is that, and this is just applicable everywhere, right? Anytime someone says I believe something, it means nothing, because we're not understanding what kind of right. I mean, because you can believe something absolutely. For example, it was a matter of, say, logic or mathematics or something. It's just okay. Well, you saw the proof. There you go. I don't have a problem with it. But in that case, you would just say it is true. But theists will continue to say things like "I believe it's true" as an alternate, which is just, So, anyways, but this is so for that reason, when somebody says something like, "Do you believe in God?" they are essentially betraying their weakened position, because they understand that the only way you could get people to fall for these God theories is by giving them this opportunity to equivocate on the word belief. And so they're expecting people to say yes, and then everybody will have their own explanation, which is random. There will be incompatible, inconsistent, non-universal, and highly equivocated. So that explains why, if I'm faced with a question like, "Do you believe in God?" I can say no, because I don't believe in anything. So that's okay. But the question is, am I just getting away with a technicality there? Am I a real atheist? Well, to explain my position further, let me so let's look at the positions of sort of agnosticism, weak atheism, and strong atheism. So agnosticism I'm going to table for now because I just don't care. Weak atheism is basically just lacking a belief in God, or just although you don't see proof or anything like that, you don't have a reason to believe it. So that's the general weak atheist position. And strong atheism is, you definitely have you're somewhat positive that God doesn't exist. Okay, that means you actively think that God does not exist. So I think this has been posted elsewhere, and I don't know if this is in the God Delusion, the book, or anything. I only have the audiobook and only listened to part of it. But as I understand, someone has proposed a scale, and I think it was Dawkins, that puts you from one end fundamentalist, and then you go to agnostic, and then weak atheist, and then strong atheist, or something like that. And then there's a linear scale, and that everyone can just sort of find their place on that scale. And this is a compelling idea, and it seems interesting, but I have a problem with the scale, because it feeds into the theist's assumed context. Because this scale basically measures the answer to the question, quote, "How much do you believe in God?" or "How do you believe in God?" end quote. Right? So this scale essentially gives the answer to that question, like, by how much. So this is a problem with me, because the question intrinsically ignores the fact that God is typically an ill-defined concept, and so in fact that the deist, theist, and pantheist definitions are sort of different enough that it doesn't make sort of sense to just answer the question with one score on the scale. So this, from this objection, we see that it makes sense to have a definition that is relative to the theism that our atheist position is complaining about, essentially. So this is also a nod to the observation made by M. William Zero and Metabob here, who have both basically stated that atheism by itself is not really a substantive philosophy in of itself, and only exists as an answer to religion and belief. So, with that sort of background, what I would say is my personal position is basically in two positions here. One is that I'm a strong atheist with respect to Abrahamic religions, or any religion whose definition has been clearly stated and usually can be just analyzed, like so Scientology or Christianity or Judaism or Islam. It's all the same thing. or flying spaghetti monster, whatever. So, and then my second position is that I'm weak atheist with respect to kind of atypical definitions that are not as easily tractable. So, for example, deism, or the idea that God is some irrelevant spirit or alien that's outside of this universe is like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with a definition like that? I don't know. The problem of evil doesn't quite work with those kinds of weird definitions, right? So that I would say those two positions basically represent sort of the complement of position I have. So as you can see, these are relative positions, right? So what I would say is that okay, so why do I take these positions? Well, I believe these positions to be sound, and it can be generally called atheism, right? Because if any definition of God which is ridiculous enough, like say God is the tooth fairy or something like that, hopefully you're strong atheist with respect to that, because you can just say in a deductive sense what's wrong with that. Whereas if there's some sort of much more like God is just the creator or something like that, it's a little bit harder to find a definitive argument unless you go with the infinite regress thing. But whatever. That's that the infinite regress requires other things. That is, that complexity implies a creator, which is not necessarily what the creator theory, like for some kinds of weak deism or something like that, might suggest. So what I would say is that strong atheism follows whenever you have a deductive argument, and weak atheism follows whenever you have an inductive argument. And also, there's nothing weak about the position of weak atheism, since it relies on the same principles that science does, which is falsification and empiricism. Okay, anyway, so that's my position. Hopefully you can have fun chewing on that. I'll probably leave the video responses open, since I won't I'll have spotty access to a computer for a little while, if anybody wants to do video responses. Other than that, I'm going to be away for a while, so tube you later.